Okay, so today we're working with more linear equations, writing lots of linear equations. That's mostly what we're going to do today. A little bit of graphing, but mostly what we're going to do is be writing equations. Uh, Key terms: point slope form, use the slope in at least one point. Point slope form. This is what I do when I write 90% of my equations. Probably closer to like 95% of the equations, I start with point slope. Everything we're going to do in here today, we're going to start with point slope. Okay. Standard form, variables on the left, constant on the right, no fractions or decimals. Key to this, no fractions or decimals. They will need to be removed when you put it to standard form. Parallel lines, the slopes are the same. Lines never cross. Perpendicular lines, slopes are negative reciprocals. So parallel lines, slope of the first is equal to the slope of the second. So two lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines, the slope of the first is equal to the opposite reciprocal of the second. So lots of equations and lines. It's one of those things that do an awful lot of in other classes. Like I said, my calc class, right lines, right lines, what they have to be able to do. It's a big part of what we do in there. The thing for them isn't so much writing the equation of the line, it's finding this right here, which for you guys will be a lot easier than it will be for them. Okay? But they do an awful lot of that. Questions? Okay. So these are the formulas, same ones that I have here. I rewrote them on the board over here on the side, particularly the point slope form. Notice the point slope form. I have some of it written in black and some of it written in blue. The stuff in black never changes. That is exactly the same every single time. If you're trying to write the equation of a line, you need three things. You need an x-coordinate, a y-coordinate, and a slope. Plug in your x-coordinate, plug in your y-coordinate, plug in your slope. Rearrange as required. Sometimes you rearrange, sometimes you don't. It all depends upon what's going on. And rearrange as required. But for the most part, you start with that. It's the easiest form. I have found it is much, much easier than trying to start in standard form, figuring out A, B, and C are. That's extremely difficult to do, to find A, B, and C for standard form. If all you have is a slope and a point. MX plus B, not too bad, but really start with this. Have this down, learn this, know this. It is the most convenient way. Okay, it is what I do, it's what I teach, it's what I cover in every class I do. Okay. So for example, write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form with a slope of 3/5 passing to the point -5, 2. So what I do is I always start with that. I always start with the point slope. I plug in my x-coordinate, my y-coordinate, my slope, and then rearrange as needed. So my first step, plug in the three values. What goes here? 2, my y-coordinate. What goes here? 3/5, my slope. And what goes here? -5, my x-coordinate. Technically, I now have the equation of a line. I've got an x and a y and equal and a bunch of numbers. I have the equation of a line. If this was a question and I said, what's the equation of the line through these points with this slope, and that was all I asked, you would be done. Technically, you would be done. It would be nice to clean up the two negatives there, but technically, I would take it as it stands. Now, however, this question asks for in slope-intercept form, mx plus b. I need to rearrange it. 2 steps. 2 steps to put this in mx plus b. Step number 1, distribute. Y minus 2 equals 3/5 x plus 3. 3/5 times 5 is 3. Step number 2, add 2 to both sides. Y equals 3/5 x plus 5. And that's it. Piece of cake. Plug it in, 2 steps. Plug in the numbers, 2 steps. Put it in mx plus b. Very easy to do. Very, very easy to do. And I think easier than trying to go into here to begin with. Okay. Your turn. Do those 2. Okay, so you notice I already put up point slope formula with the blanks. Fill in the blanks. Y coordinate, -3. Slope, -5. X coordinate, 6. Okay. Go ahead and change the double negatives to a positive. I want it slope intercept form. Gentlemen, distribute the -5. Y plus 3 equals -5x plus 30. Subtract 3. Y equals -5x plus 27. Piece of cake. Second one, same thing. Plug in the y coordinate, -4, x slope 2/3, x coordinate, -3. Like I said, technically I have the equation of a line. However, it's incomplete because they want a specific form. So I need to rearrange it, make the double negatives positives. Y plus 4 equals, distribute the 2/3, 2/3 x plus 2, subtract 4, y equals 2/3 x minus 2. Piece of cake. I really do, I can't emphasize enough how much point slope formula is so easy to work from. Okay. Same idea, except I have a problem here. My problem is I don't have one of the 3 things I need. I need 3 things to write the equation line. You need 3 things. You have 3 things you can write the equation line. I need 3 things. I need an x coordinate, I need a y coordinate, and I need a slope. I do not have a slope. I need to find my slope. But we know how to do that. Slope equals, once again, same formula every time. Just fill in the blanks. Y minus y, 2 minus -1 over x minus x, -3 minus 3 equals 3 over -6 equals -1/2. Okay. Now I start going to work. Same thing, y minus equals x minus, fill in the blanks. And I can pick either x, y coordinate. It doesn't matter which one. Pick either one of them. I'm going to go with, I think 3, -1. I think that'll be an easier one to work with, but it doesn't really matter. In the end, I would have the same answer with either one of them. It doesn't really matter though. Put 3 here, put -1 there, and then put -1/2 here. And there's a reason I picked the -1 for my x coordinate rather than the -3 for my x coordinate. It's not that big a deal, but it does kind of help a little bit. Okay. Get rid of the double negative. Now, yes.
Isn't the x so flipped, right? It would be y minus or -1.
You're right. XY coordinate. XY. Why did I do that? My bad. Thank you very much. Thank you for pointing out my mistake in front of everybody.
No.
I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. Yeah. All right. The worst part is this. You know when this always happens when I'm being recorded. Good thing I'm not self-conscious. Actually, it's a good thing it's really hard to back up the tape, so to speak. Okay, so I still have the same slope, -1/2, right? I did not screw up, but did I screw up on the slope? Okay. X coordinate, y coordinate of x coordinate of 3, y coordinate of -1. Yeah, it really doesn't make much of a difference. This is kind of easier because it's a negative there. Do this one. Now, here's the issue. I need to put it in standard form, not slope-intercept. Requires a couple extra steps, but they're really not that hard. First step, still distribute. So I get -1/2 x plus 3/2. Now comes the tricky part. Standard form, we're not allowed to have any fractions or decimals in standard form. No fractions, no decimals in standard form. So once I distribute, get rid of your fractions. It's a relatively easy thing to do. We're going to work on this in lots of other ways. Multiply everything by your common denominator. My common denominator is 2. I multiply everything times 2. So 2 times y, 2y. 2 times 1 plus 2. 2 times -1/2 gives me -x. 2 times 3/2 plus 3. Okay, no more fractions. No fractions, no decimals in standard form. Now all I have to do is put my x's on one side. X, y equals number. I want to move the x over. I add x to both sides. I want to take the 2 and move it over there, so I subtract 2 from both sides. Those cancel. I get x plus 2y equals 1. It's essentially one more step in putting it in slope-intercept, getting rid of the fraction. It's really the one step other than that. Okay, standard form. X has to come first, followed by y, followed by equals, followed by number. No decimals, no fractions. On the test, on your test, the end of the chapter test, you will have to write equations in standard form. If you do not have the x as the first thing, it will be marked wrong. If you do not have plus or minus y as the next thing, followed by the equal sign, followed by the constants, you will be marked wrong. I have students that will give me 2y plus x equals 1. What's wrong with that? It's not in standard form because of a specific x, y equals number. It is extremely specific. Having the variables reversed doesn't work for this. I will mark you wrong, and it happens an awful lot. Okay, you must remember what comes first and what comes second. Okay? And no fractions or decimals. That is also often a mistake. Your turn. Do those two. Okay, let's do this. So, first thing I need to do is I need to find the slope. Let's see, y minus y. Let's see if I can do the one right. 8 minus 2 over 5 minus 3 gives me 6 over 2, which is 3. Ooh, easy slope to work with. So y minus equals x minus, plug in my values, 3 for my slope, and it doesn't really matter which coordinate I pick. they're both double positives. They're both positive, you know, both of the points are positive in both of them. My choice is 3, 2 because smaller numbers. Less likely to screw up with smaller numbers than you are with bigger numbers, right? That's all. Doesn't really matter, no. So 2, put 3, distribute the 3, y minus 2 equals 3x minus 9. And here's what's really nice. I don't have any fractions. So I don't have to worry about getting rid of those on this one. So I subtract 3x from both sides, and I add 2 to both sides, and I get negative 3x plus y equals negative 7. Now, some people, not me, but some people are really hung up on the idea that your x's must be positive in standard form. Me, yeah, I don't really care. If you look it up in different textbooks, some textbooks care, some textbooks don't. I think it depends upon the author. It is one of the few things that if it's standard form, it ought to be standard for everybody. I don't really care, but if you were to actually get rid of the negative by multiplying everything by negative 1 and give me 3x minus y equals positive 7, that would be okay as well. I would take either one of those two answers. I will take either one of those two. I don't care. As long as no fractions, no decimals, x, y equals number. I'm okay. I'm not hung up on my x's being positive. I don't care how my x's feel. They can be negative all they want. God, tough crowd this morning. Okay, same one, same thing. Slope equals y minus y, negative 3 minus 1 over 2 minus negative 6 gives me negative 4 over 8, which is negative 1/2. Y minus equals x minus, and let's see, negative 1/2. And let's go 2 here and negative 3 here, just because. Doesn't really matter. Make that a double negative, distribute my 1/2. Y plus 3 equals negative 1/2 x plus 1. Half of 2 is 1. 2 negatives make it positive. I do have to get rid of my fraction here, but this is an easy one because it's only one fraction. Multiply everything times 2, double everything in here. I get 2y plus 6 equals negative x plus 2. Add x to both sides. Subtract 6 from both sides. X plus 2y equals negative 4. What? 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 Did you figure what? Figure out mistake? You have to get rid of fraction for standard form. Are we good? Okay. Okay. Write the equation of the line of the slope and slope intercept parallel to. Once again, what do we need? We need an x coordinate, a y coordinate, and we need a slope. I am not directly given my slope, but I am given the information I need to identify what my slope is. I want one that is parallel to this line. Parallel lines have the same slope. The slope of this line is 6 because it's an mx plus b form, which makes it really easy to figure out what the slope is. The slope of that line is 6, so the slope of my new line is also 6. Fill in the blanks. Slope is 6. X coordinate's 1. Y coordinate's negative 3. Get rid of the double negative. Distribute the 6. Y plus 3 equals 6x minus 6. And they want it in slope-intercept form. Ooh, that's an easy one. Just subtract 3 from both sides. Y equals 6x minus 9. Notice the y-intercepts are not the same for the two lines. Do not assume that they are. That seems to be an awful assumption that a lot of students make. Oh, it's an mx plus 2 form. They've got to have the same y-intercept. Not unless they tell you they do. Passing through another line, it's not. And if they're parallel lines, it will not have the same y-intercept for sure and for certain. Do not assume that they are. Your turn. Do that one. Okay, once again, this is pretty easy because they're parallel, right? They're parallel. Yes, the slope of my new line is 1/2. Y minus equals x minus. Fill in the blanks. 1/2 for my slope. -8 for my x coordinate. 1 for my y coordinate. Y minus 1 equals 1/2 x plus 4. Add 1. Y equals 1/2 x plus 5. Okay. Questions? Okay. Same basic idea. I have to have a point and a slope. I have a point. I need to identify my slope. The slope of my new line, because they are perpendicular, is the opposite inverse. Slope of this line is -4. The slope of my new line is positive 1/4. Okay, positive 1/4. Got to get rid of, got to flip it over, change the sign. Inverse, opposite inverse. Now, I do what I've been doing. Same thing. Fill in the blanks. 1/4 for the x, 5 for the y coordinate, 8 for the x coordinate. If you do the same thing consistently, that's part of the reason why I like point slope formula. Every single time you fill in the blanks. What are the blanks I need to fill in? I need to know 3 things. What are my 3 things? X coordinate, y coordinate, and slope. If you can find those 3 things, you can do your equation of a line. Okay? It really is fairly simple. Distribute the 1/4. Y minus 5 equals 1/4 x minus 2. 1/4 of 8 is 2. Standard form. Means fractions, no bueno. Multiply through by my common denominator, which in this case is 4. 4 times everything. 4y minus 20 equals x minus 8. And then rearrange as needed. Subtract x, add 20. -x plus 4y equals 12. Yeah, 12. And once again, if you are hung up on having your x's be positive, you're one of those people that likes to have all your x's be positive. Just multiply everything by -1. Changes the sign of everything. Both of those are good. You do not have to give me both on the answer keys. When I grade tests on answer keys, I have both of those answered. Actually, anymore, I usually just put 1, but I'm smart enough to know that if it changes the sign on everything, it's not exactly what I have. But I will, when I show it, I usually have it on there both anyways. But it's one of those things that both of those are acceptable, they're good. Okay, if there's more than one form to an answer, I have all of those forms on the test. This would be one where both of these answers would be down there for a test question. Now, if it's multiple choice, you would not have both. If it's multiple choice, it would be one or the other, but not both. Okay? I wouldn't do that to you. Okay, your turn. Okay, same thing. Slope of the old line is 3/2. The slope of my new line is negative 2/3. So, plug in my points. Y minus equals X minus. Y coordinates 5. Slope is negative 2/3. X coordinates negative 9. So, gotta watch my negatives and positives and stuff on this one. Take care of that there. Y minus 5 equals negative 2/3 X. A minus, because I have a negative times a positive. 2/3 times 9. 1/3 of 9 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Get rid of my common denominator, which is 3. So I multiply everything times 3. 3y minus 15 equals negative 2x minus 18. Okay. Everything, the 3 times negative 2/3 is negative 2. That's what we're doing, getting rid of our denominator. Add 2x to both sides. Add 15 to both sides. And I get 2x plus 3y equals negative 3. Two-thirds times 9.
Oh.
Do you see it? Okay. If you're not good at fractions, learn the fraction button on your calculator. Ooh, I like to use that all the time, particularly when I'm doing tests, when I'm making up answer keys. I use that fraction button constantly. I can do this pretty good, but when I'm making answer keys, I want to make sure I get it right. Yes, we can. 3 times negative 6. That's a negative because it's positive here. And the negative times a positive gives me negative. And then the positive times a negative gives me negative. Did you catch that? Okay. Okay. We've actually been doing this to some extent already. This is really easy. Rewrite the problem, though, to give yourself room to work. Y equals negative 2/5 x minus 3. This is 2 steps. Step number 1, get rid of the fraction. Multiply through by your common denominator. Your common denominator in this case is 5. Multiply everything times 5. 5y equals negative 2x minus 15. Step 2, move the x's. Add 2x to both sides. 2x plus 5y equals negative 15. That's it. To go from slope-intercept to standard form, it's 2 steps. Get rid of the fraction and move the x. If you don't have fractions, just move the x's. Your turn. Okay, once again, your first step is to rewrite the problem where you have room to work. You know, I don't mind working from the problem where it stands in most cases, but there are certain times if it's in the middle of a sentence, move it so you got room to work on it. Just common sense. First step, get rid of your fraction, everything times 4. 4y equals x minus 28. Subtract x. negative x plus 4y equals negative 28. And by now you should know that if you just change the sign, it's still good. So if you just change the sign on everything, it's still good. Okay? Ooh, yeah! I love these problems. I love the graph. 2x minus 4y equals 12. Find the x and y intercepts. We already found the x and the y intercepts, did we not? We did that. We did that the last time we were together. Same concept for review. To find my y-intercepts, let x equal 0. Negative 4y equals 12. Divide both sides by negative 4. Y equals negative 3. That is my y-intercept. That means on the y-axis I have a point at negative 3. Find the x-intercept. Let y equal 0. I get 2x equals 12. 2x equals 12. So divide, not subtract 2, divide by 2. X equals 6. X-intercept, dot on 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. X-intercept, y-intercept. And draw a line through those 2 points. By the way, if you need rulers, I got rulers here in a box underneath the printer. But as long as you can draw a decently good straight line, that's about as bad as you're going to be allowed to be. Okay, you'll be all right. Piece of cake. You already know how to do this part. You're just adding one thing. Plotting 2 points and drawing a line through them. Your turn. That shouldn't take too long, so let's do this. Let x equal 0. I get negative 3y equals 24. Divide by negative 3. Y equals negative 8. Which I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, down at the bottom. Let y equal 0. I get 6x equals 24. Divide by 6. X equals 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Piece of cake. I like graphing from standard form. It's easy. You only need 2 points. Okay. Example problem number 7. Ooh, we're getting there. Almost there. Long day today. Says to do 2 things. First, put it into slope-intercept form and then graph it. So, 3x minus 5y equals 10. To put it in slope-intercept form, I need y equals mx plus b. Solve for y. We actually did this as well on Thursday. First step, move my x's. Get out the truck, move your x. It's interesting, my board's starting to go. Okay. Divide everything by negative 5. And I get y equals negative and a negative, 3/5 x, positive, when divided by negative gives me a negative, 10 divided by 5 is 2. And I have my slope is 3/5. My y-intercept is negative 2. So to graph, a review of graphing from slope-intercept. First step, find the y-intercept. Y-intercept is negative 2. Put a dot on negative 2. From negative 2, do your run and your rise, or your rise and your run. I don't care which one you do first. However, this is what I do. And I do it consistently every time. If I have room, I always do my run first, and I always do my run in the positive direction. So my run is 5, because it's rise over run. So I go 5. In the positive direction. Then I do my rise. If I have a negative slope, I go down. If I have a positive slope, I go up. It's easier to remember negative and positive being up and down than it is left and right. Rise up, rise down. Positive slope, I go up. Negative slope, I go down. That's the other thing next to your slope. Positive slopes go up. Negative slopes go down. If I have a positive slope, I go up, which I do in this case, so I go up 3. 1, 2, 3, second dot. Line goes through those two. I am consistent about how I do that, just for that reason. The biggest thing is consistency when you're graphing lines. If you like to do your rise first and then you run, go right ahead. Just be consistent in how you do it. That is what I have found in 20 years. Doing lines well is being consistent, doing it the same way every time. As long as the way you're doing it is correct. Okay. Okay. 5x plus 6y equals 12. Same thing we just did. First step, rearrange it. Subtract 5x. 6y equals negative 5x plus 12. Divide everything by 6. Y equals negative 5x plus 2. My slope is negative 5. Make it a fraction over 1 for graphing purposes. My y-intercept is 2. You should always make your fraction, whenever you're doing graphing, make your slope a fraction. Sorry, 5, 6, my bad. Don't know why I did that. 5, 6, it already is a fraction, my bad. But my comment still stands. If it's a whole number, make it a fraction for graphing purposes. Okay. So my slope, my y-intercept is 2. My run is 6. Go over 6. And then go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, negative 5. And there's your line. Okay, questions? And that's it.